Now let us prove the statement. If f is Riemann integrable, right, then modulus of f is Riemann integrable. Modulus of f is Riemann integrable, right? So what is to be assumed? We have to assume that the function f is Riemann integrable. That is, we have to assume that upper Darboux sum of, right, of function f with respect to any partition p minus lower Darboux sum of function f with respect to any partition p is lesser than epsilon. Is lesser than epsilon. By assuming this, we have to prove that upper Darboux sum of modulus of f, right, minus lower Darboux sum of modulus of f is lesser than epsilon. That is what we have to prove in this theorem, right? So for this, let us assume or let us treat this f is Riemann integrable. Riemann integrable. Therefore, by the definition of Riemann integrability of the given function f in closed interval a comma b, for given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a partition p, right, such that for that partition p and using function f, if we find out the difference between upper Darboux sum and lower Darboux sum, it will be lesser than epsilon, and this value will be either greater than 0 or equal to 0, right? So this is what we have concluded from the given assumption, right? So now, till now, for epsilon greater than 0, a partition p has existed in such a way that using this partition p and using the function f, if we find out the difference between upper Darboux sum and the lower Darboux sum, its difference will be lesser than epsilon, and this value will be either greater than 0 or equal to 0, either greater than 0 or equal to 0, right? So now we proceed further. We proceed further. As given function f is Riemann integrable, it will be bounded function. It will be bounded on closed interval a comma b. Right. Bounded function means a function which will have the upper bound and lower bound. The upper bound and lower bound. And here the author is treating that this k is the bound of this f of x. Right. All of the function positive function values are lesser than k for k belongs to R plus. K is a positive real number, right? So the positive values of f of x are all lesser than k, and where k belongs to R plus, wherever x belongs to closed interval a comma b, right? That means modulus of f of a is less than k, modulus of f of b is less than k, and modulus of f of x for every x values lying in between a and b are all lesser than k, and where k is a positive real number, right? So mod f is also a bounded function on closed interval a comma b. Modulus of f of x is also bounded on closed interval a comma b, right? That means here we have concluded that if f is a bounded function, then modulus of f is also a bounded function, right? So if f is bounded function on closed interval a comma b, then in this partition p also we get a lower bound and a upper bound. And in partition p, in first segment we get lower bound and upper bound. In second segment also we get a lower bound upper bound. In rth segment we get lower and upper bound. And in nth segment also we get lower bound and upper bound for all values of x belonging to every segment, right? That is what here we are obtaining the infimum and the supremum of the given function f in rth segment. And now I will show you the positions of these upper bounds and lower bounds of the given function f of x on real number line, right, for R segment IR, right? Now if we take a real number line, see here it is a real number line, right? On this, let us take the representation of two functions. Let this box represent the function values of mod f of x, let these box values represent the function values of f of x, right? The function values of f of x, and let this be the representation of closed interval a comma b as partition points, right? So as we know that we treat x naught as a and we treat xn as b, and in between we take the r segment ir in which the first endpoint is x r minus 1 and the next endpoint is xr and next endpoint is a xr. So for this partition points and in this r segment we find out or we represent the lower bound and upper bound of the given function f here. See here. Now if we consider this small mr, and here we are considering capital mr. So what is small mr? It is infimum of f of x for a value of x belonging to ir, that means r segment ir. So and in the same way capital mr is also a supremum value for given function f of x, right? For any value of x taken from the r segment ir, the r segment ir, that is what we have taken here. Let small mr and capital mr be infimum and supremum of just function f of x on ir. It is the meaning of that this sentence. Let mr comma capital mr be infimum and supremum of f on ir. So in this closed interval a comma b I have taken partition points, and it is r segment ir in which the first point endpoint is xr minus 1, the next endpoint is xr, and for these points of x in ir we are representing the infimum of f of x as small mr and supremum of f of x as capital mr on real number line. It is real number line, right? It is also a real number line now. So as f of x is bounded and modulus of f of x is also a bounded function. Now for the same property in ir, if we take the x values and substitute in modulus of f of x, definitely this modulus of f of x is also a bounded function. And as this modulus of f of x is the bounded function, we can trace out the infimum small mr dash, and we can trace out the supremum capital mr dash, capital mr dash. That is what we have written here. Small mr dash comma capital mr dash be infimum and supremum of mod f, right? So whole of this is real number line capital R, and this capital A B is a closed interval in which we have taken the R segment IR in which XR minus 1 and in which XR is the first endpoint and the second endpoint respectively, and in between space represent the values which are in between XR minus 1 and XR. So if we substitute all these values including XR minus 1 and XR in f of x, we get small mr as infimum and capital mr as supremum. And in the same way, if we substitute all the values in between xr minus 1 and xr, including xr minus 1 and xr in between values also in modulus of f of x, then we get small mr dash as infimum and capital mr dash as supremum. All of this representation is on real number line, right? Now if we proceed further, see here. So for alpha comma beta belong to IR. For alpha comma beta belong to IR, right? Modulus of mod f of alpha minus mod f of beta is equal to modulus of mod f of alpha minus mod f of beta. Mod f of beta. See here, again if we consider a real number line, if we consider a real number line again, right, in close interval a comma b, if we take the r segment r segment ir, the first endpoint is xr minus 1, the next point endpoint is xr, and in these points we are taking 2 points, one is alpha and the other is beta, for which mod f of alpha, right, will be present in the values of mod f function, and it is mod f of beta, mod f of beta, mod f of beta, right. See here, we are taking the difference of this mod f of alpha and mod f of beta in modulus, so it is equal to modulus of mod f of alpha minus mod f of beta, right. So this can be written as whole of this value is lesser than or equal to mod of f of alpha minus f of beta. Why? Because mod f of alpha is less than or equal to f of alpha, and mod f of beta is less than or equal to mod f of beta, right. So whole of this mod f of alpha minus mod f of beta is lesser than or equal to mod f of alpha minus f of beta. Now see here, what is this mod f of alpha? It is equal to mr dash. Mod f of beta is small mr dash. And what is f of alpha? F of beta, it is capital Mr and small mr, right? So capital mr dash minus small mr dash is less than or equal to capital Mr minus small mr for r equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on up to n. So what does this represent? It is saying that m1 dash minus small m1 dash is less than or equal to capital M1 minus small m1, right? This inequality which I have taken for r is equal to 1 is representing the points of the first segment I1. So if r is equal to 2, then capital M2 dash minus small m2 dash will be less than or equal to capital M2 minus small m2, right? This inequality which I have taken for r is equal to is obtained from the points from second segment. So for r equal to n, if we take this inequality, it will be mn dash minus small mn dash less than or equal to capital Mn minus small mn, right? So this inequality which I have taken for r is equal to n is obtained for the function values of x taken from nth segment in, right? Now we consider upper Darboux sum of modulus of f minus lower Darboux sum of modulus of f with respect to partition p, right? So what is the condition for this? Summation r equal to 1 to n capital mr dash into delta r minus summation small mr dash into delta r, right? So in the next step here, we are taking the summation r equal to 1 to n common out for this capital mr dash minus small mr dash, and we are taking this delta r also common out, right, from these two terms mr capital mr dash and small mr dash. So whole of this capital mr dash minus small mr dash is less than or equal to capital mr minus small mr, capital mr minus small mr, right? Therefore this inequality equal to is converted into less than or equal to, right? And if we proceed further, summation r equal to 1 to n capital mr into delta r minus summation r equal to 1 to n small mr into delta r, right? So the representation of this first summation is upper Darboux sum, and the representation of the second Darboux sum is lower Darboux sum. So as we know that f is Riemann integrable, at the first beginning itself we have considered as upper Darboux sum of f minus lower Darboux sum of f with respect to partition p is lesser than epsilon, Therefore this upper Darboux sum of mod f minus lower Darboux sum of mod f is also lesser than epsilon. Now see here, it is rated here and this less than epsilon is written here. Therefore upper Darboux sum of mod f minus lower Darboux sum of mod f is less than epsilon. So with this we can conclude that the uh, mod f is Riemann integrable. This mod f is a Riemann integrable, right? So for this statement we can conclude that converse of this theorem is not true, That is if mod f is integrable on closed interval a comma b, then f need not be integrable on closed interval a comma b. Right? I repeat once again. Though mod f is integrable on closed interval a comma b, there is no rule that f is Riemann integrable on closed interval a comma b. Right. This ends the theorem.